and I want to repeat, if there's a strong push towards getting rid of images, statues, and icons of racist people, a move to erase them from history, a move to wipe them away as if they've never existed. Not the atrocity. The atrocity should always be remembered, lest it will happen again. But for those that profited and benefited from the atrocities in any area, in this sense, we mean slavery, all those imageries and brutality and those, of those brutal people should be wiped away, their memories erased. This alone will act as a discouraging factor, in my opinion, for those that would want to follow in those footsteps, knowing that history will have a way of doing away with them, not being remembered. And in the guise of ancient history, for those people that have studied ancient history, the Egyptians used to wipe away the memories of their enemies. That's something that they would do, erase the names. They wouldn't talk about the information. Sorry, they would always talk about information as to what happened, but they will wipe away the names of those enemies, wipe them away completely of any achievement or anything that they've done, an erasing of history. And if you are not remembered, then you didn't exist. It's as if you've died a second death. So the moment your name is no longer called on, you no longer exist. And that's something that was taken very seriously in ancient Egypt, and I think should be applied today. But anyway, as I say, the Doctor's Surgery, Britain's first current affairs show. This week we're reviewing all these matters. We know that they tore down that statue of the idiot, and we would love for them to tear down all the other idiots' statues that of all those racist and prejudiced people. The funny thing is, the media has presented it in a way where they're saying that it was uh, an atrocious act. Who cares what they think? Tear it down, yes, and dash it in the river. And the funny thing is, it was white folks that tore it down. But yet again, as we presented last week in the show, that it's the black people within the media and the media's attention that are getting the blame for that statue to be torn down, as it's a part of the Black Lives Matter movement. So the blunt of it and the thuggery of it, all these terms that they're choosing to call us, and I say us as if I was there, but I wasn't. But nonetheless, I say us because I identify with my people, no matter where you are in the world, and I identify with the pain. One of the things that we emphasized a few weeks ago or I can't remember if it's a few weeks ago or actually a few months ago on the show, was that we have to learn as a people to, was it about 2 weeks ago? I said that we have to learn as a people to respect others' plight. You know, an African cannot understand the plight of a black person from Jamaica in fullness. They cannot understand the plight of someone from the Americas in fullness. And when I say that, I mean they can't understand the plight of someone that's gone through slavery in fullness. They can understand the plight of their own in terms of colonialization. And those from the Caribbean can, infer and imply, but they can't fully grasp the impact of colonialization as opposed to slavery. So we respect each other's view in the difficulties we faced due to the atrocities that were laid upon us at each interval. One of the things that disgusted me over the past week on national radio are all these muppets, all these fools, these black fools that phone up all these talk shows, and I would say phone up all these talk shows, and one of the things that they say on these talk shows is that they've never experienced racism. Now I was listening to one of these talk shows, and this black fool called Donna, I'm gonna call names 'cause I don't care, called up saying that she's never experienced racism in her life, and everything that she said was disrespectful towards a movement that she's saying she doesn't understand or she doesn't agree with. But yet, because it's not her life experience, she feels to berate it as opposed to respect that others may not have been so bottom kissing like she is in life to get through life. You know what I mean? Whether we want to say it in any other way. And this was a phone call on one of those chat. Who was it on LBC? Let me call name. And the presenter, when she said that the presenter went into ecstasy, it was like he was receiving a prize, a golden prize from a black fool. And he was saying his head is tingling and he's seeing stars. He was so excited to hear a black person berate their own and agreeing with his philosophical thinking in that, as if racism doesn't exist. This is what you contend and this is what you deal with. And likewise, again, LVC, en route here, I was listening to, you know, Nick Ferrari. Because I listen to these shows not to big them up, but to get an idea of what the information that they're pushing out within the general stratosphere, so that we know the nuances and the agenda behind it. And one of the things that I heard again that was so disgusting was a fool from Nigeria calling in, again reflecting the same sound, saying that he came here and he achieved a degree or a PhD in 2 years, and he's now a professor and all this stuff. And how can we call that a racist country? Again, bottom kissing. I mean, I don't want to use a derogatory term to towards a white presenter. And this is what I had to think. I had to shake my head at the educated fool. And this is the problem that we have. As much as they're educated with the notion of slave as opposed to a free person, because everything that is spewed is so stupid on the greater scheme of things when you think about it and you weigh it out, and so illiterate. You can see what an educated fool is. And if anyone knows what I'm talking about, then you understand my pain in this scenario. And this is the problem that we have. We haven't got a united voice. Even within this now movement of the Black Lives Matter crew, we haven't got a united voice in the sense that there isn't anyone out there presenting what the movement is fighting for and what would be great enough. We've left it up to society to infer and interpret and make changes. So that could be a positive thing, that could be a negative thing. I don't know. I'm just highlighting where things stand as they are. And these are the sad things that we have to look at and we have to hear and we have to deal with throughout. Even if we don't agree with the Black Lives Matter movement, we support our brothers and sisters in their push. We don't try to tear it down. We try to guide, or we do our part in making sure that whatever they push into do is successful, as opposed to be a spanner in the wheel. I do not agree with that spanner in the wheel philosophy, even if I don't agree with how it's being done. So if you want to take part in the show, I'd love to hear from you, because I'm going to be doing an angry rant if I don't actually open up the calls to take calls. So we still have so much to talk about in the US. Like I said, there's the George Floyd matter. whereas now the death of a black man is becoming politicized. Politic. Oh God, I can't even get it work. I can't even get it out. But anyway, you can see the Democratic Party you trying to use this to garner black votes in America. You can start seeing that black people again to the Democratic Party are a tool for their own usage, as opposed to seeing the impact and the effect that their very own policies, the liberal policies that they've brought in, especially Joe Biden with all the criminal reform acts and legislation that he brought in and the impact that's had over the last 30 years. You know, a lot of people hear Joe Biden talking and they getting all excited as if they want to vote for Mr. Biden straight away, not knowing that he himself, you know, his policies have had the biggest impact. And that is what we would consider as racism, because it was a change and effect that impacted on the well-being of others as opposed to just for anything else. We've got a live caller. Let's go live. Caller, you live.
Yes, doctor.
How
How
you
are you?
how you doing?
A very positive day today, you know. I feel the same as you, ranting as well. I was ranting yesterday, man, and it looked like it attract a lot of people to come see Baba or something.
To see what, sorry?
To see if I was okay.
Okay, so yeah, man, because what have you been ranting about? Where has the news impacted you for the past week?
Well, you know, one of the things that I am a bit disgusted is, and you just mentioned that, and that sparked me to call you,
Mm-hmm.
is you know the Black Lives Movement, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I'm very upset with that in the sense of being disgust, yeah? Because what happened here now is that a lot of people is waking up to this black and white thing now as to it's something that was I know who did it as well, and I don't want to get into that history right now, but this was something put there to mislead people and to put us against each other, black and you say white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is that there's no black people, there's no white people, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the earth is indigo blue, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and we claim that we are original and we come from the earth, which you see the minerals in us, the 190 minerals,
Mm-hmm.
is all of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can't be black. Black is a watered down version color. Black, there's three original color, which is red, yellow, and indigo blue. The yellow is the sun. The red more or less is blood and others.
Mm-hmm.
And the indigo blue is the earth. So if that is so, then we're not black. We just take on that perspective and what I'm saying is now, a lot of people is waking up to that now and forget about the education. We're not editing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Are waking up to the fact that we're not black. We take on something, as to say, we take on a cross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because listen, when you hear the word crucifying Jesus Christ, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we are the sacrificial lamb. We are the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the indigo people. We are the one to take on that cross. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that term crucifying this Jesus Christ so that you can live and go to heaven. And I'm just saying this story, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It in reality it's you, because it's saying that there must be sacrifice. Have you ever seen a Wicker Man
What?
with Christopher Lee?
No.
Okay, you never see that movie. Very interesting. I saw it twice at Twitter. But the first time I didn't really understand what it was. It was about where they used to sacrifice people, like burn them, and
Mhm.
this Wicker Man kind of big statue kind of thing, yeah?
Mhm.
And this was in sacrifice so that they won't have droughts and all of that. Because this time when the rain never used to come in, and they would make these sacrifice and the rain would come in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the drinking of the wine in the church as well is you are drinking poison, because now they're saying that the drinking of the wine is supposed to be you drinking this man that is sacrificed blood, which is the Jesus. I'm not like people use the word Jesus, because that's a slave ship. But okay, I'm just saying as to how they put their story into reality. Yeah. So when you're drinking their wine, which in Numbers chapter 6 say you shouldn't, is not says, but as it's written, you shouldn't. You were supposed to be saying you're drinking the sacrificial blood, but actually you're drinking their poison, because these people are reptiles, snakes, yeah, and you're drinking the poison and
No.
it's written. Yeah.
So I mean, what you've said there is a lot. You know what I mean? And we have to unpick when we say people are reptiles and they're snakes, you know, we have to unpick what is meant, what you mean. And but even before we get to that point, there's still a lot to unpick, because the reason I say that is, if we're looking at things from a general information as what's in the public domain perspective, and we have this movement that you call Black Lives Matter that you don't agree with, you'd rather say the Indigo people. But the fact is, for us as a society to change,
I'm not against the movement, I'm against
the term black. I understand, but it's in where we are within society at the moment. What would it take to change perspective to even get to that far? Because if we haven't got leadership where we are united in that sense with one voice and one set of aims, what you have is a fractured organization where you have different parts in different states in the US that are doing their own movement, their own angle. Then you have a fractured piece in the UK doing the same, and likewise in other countries that are joining in. So there's not a concerted effort where it's just one voice. So for us to even to get to that point, you can see that's millions of miles away at the moment. And when I say that in that sense, I mean that's years down the road, a generation down the road for that shift to take place. Because at the moment where we are, the generation, the youth, they're calling themselves black and they associate with Black Lives Matter, because a generation ago, youth would have been associating perhaps with the Nation of Islam, or the Nuwapians, or what the Hebrew Israelites. You know, every generation brings its own contenders towards the black political movement, and we cannot say that we cannot force the youngsters to adhere or abide to the same philosophies that the older ones did, because you know they will always be change, and it's about them being able to achieve what they're setting out to achieve within their own logistical change and movement with that. Okay, so with the Black Lives Matter as it stands at the moment, that's this generational movement, that's this set of youth, that's what they associate with, that's what they gravitate towards.
This is being pushed at them, though. This is an agenda, though. This is an agenda-driven stuff. Let me say this. There's right and there's wrong. Right now, everybody is defending the wrong. Now, if it's only us that is going to defend the right, because the right is right for everyone else. But if we don't defend the right, nobody would defend that, because we have been crucified for the right. But now we switch and gone on the wrong. Now, if it was all wrong, nobody would be here, you know, guys. The right is always here. We call it law.
No.
Somebody has to defend the right, and we have to get back on the right side of history.
All right, let's pause there for a second, because like I said, there's a lot to unpick. I know why I would say it's wrong, but I want you to tell me why you say it's wrong. Why do you say it's wrong?
Because there's no such thing as black and white. Black and white is that deception. When I say deception, is that deception for agenda to let's look at us calling ourselves black now, and we're killing each other. That's what this deception is about, because they want us to be and using things as sides where
I understand. I understand what you're saying, but young people are far more complicated than that these days. You know, they don't look at things in such a sense of black and white. They would look at it, the fact that what they're saying is that the emphasis is that the black lives that are impacted are theirs, and in their sense, it matters because there's a disproportionate negative impact on their lives from society and societal organizations, one being the police. And we know that the health system likewise is another. And in most of these in most of these governmental organizations, there seems to be institutionalized racism or racist policies or racist people that make it disproportionate for us to have a fair and balanced life. And they're saying, oh, hold on, oh, hold on, and hold on, and they're saying Black Lives Matter. For us to say to them, it's not about black and white, that's just going to throw a spanner in the works at the moment because it's like looking for a needle in the haystack. We understand that the term isn't ideal because there's so many people even saying all lives matter and all these other things that they're trying to throw with a spanner in the works. And we need to take that out. No, we can't. But this is what I'm saying. That in itself is a distraction. That in itself is a unwarranted distraction. That whilst it is something that we need to elaborate and teach on, it's not going to be productive at this point within what's going on in the global stratosphere of things. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not at the moment we have to look and see, all right, there's a movement going on. How can we positively help the guy? Because this is the problem, and this is why I say there's a problem. This is a problem, and it depends on how different people look at it, but this is how it is. The Black Lives Matter, the people that seem to be making the organizational calls and the power moves don't seem to be black organizers. They seem to be white organizers. Because you understand what I'm saying? And what and, no white anyway. And when I say that, I'm not saying it in a disparaging way because there's pros and cons to that, but then it is kind of alarming and worrisome when we don't know that when we are not at the helm, that's a better way of saying it. When we're not at the helm of our own movement, that means we have to be at the mercy and the reliance that someone that's there has our 100% good intention at heart, and that's and we know that our very own sellout movements, right? Our very own sellout movements. So why would someone else that don't look like us, in that sense, if you understand? I mean, not in a disparaging way, not also not sell us out. What should be happening is that we should be at the helm, and those that want to be advisors and guides and supporters can be as such, but that is not what's taking place. Because how many people, and I'm grateful for the white people that dragged that statue down, to be frank, but I'm just saying, in a sense, there's also that worrisome factor that how many black people in the general public knew that that statue was what that statue was about. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They never probably know it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like we are still in a state of illiteracy, where we Jamaicans would say you eat your name pan bulla. You understand what I'm saying? Where you can't read what's taking place because you don't know the information. And then it brings to the point of today's subject, which is probably going to be, we can go into more in depth next week, depends on how the media handles it, on whether Black history should be taught in school. But then if Black history is going to be taught in schools, what are they going to be teaching about Black history in schools? They're going to be bombarding you with prominent slave masters and prominent slave traders. I don't, you get what I'm saying? Bombarding your child with
They
foolishness.
don't even get to
Make
that no more.
and what they're doing is making their ancestors look great and powerful in our
Now
eyes.
we are come. That's
Because
what I'm saying.
Black
This is
history
what
is so
we teach now.
rich.
Columbus.
Right. Black history is so rich. Why is it that they want to focus on a portion of brutality that they subjected us to that they won't stop talking about? It's
Yeah.
like it's like when you watch the History Channel half the time, it's always a program on Adolf Hitler, Adolf Hitler, Adolf Hitler, and from that I understood, and I don't belong to the Nation of Islam, and I'm not bigging up the Nation of Islam, and I'm not denigrating them either. I'm just making a
Yeah.
point to say I fully grasped and understood when Minister Louis Farrakhan years ago said, is as if the man is a great man because they wouldn't stop talking about him.
Yeah, but there's something I needed to tell you about that before I forget now is that
Mhm.
they have said that they killed Adolf Hitler, but he never been killed. He died in what's that place there? Argentina, sorry. And I'm trying to say now that they claim they killed Adolf Hitler and they went to war and kill him and all of that. Yeah, but they never killed the philosophy. That's what we need to be looking at. What's
Mm.
up with the philosophy? That's what we have need to get. Not Hitler.
Right.
We need the philosophy dead. Hitler was a madman.
Well, you know what I mean. So to them, his followers, he was a great leader. And in when you see what they present in the shows and in the programs, you had one country that took on really the world. So and he nearly won. He nearly
But
won.
that's what happened to them today as well, don't you know? That's
Huh?
what happened today.
So the point I'm making is that how they should have really handled him was just wipe him away. No, people shouldn't even have been calling his name. He should have been erased from history. But the act of what they done should always have been remembered. You know, but because you pick up the name and you make the name into a hero for some, you create a juxtaposition where this person is now, immortalized. So two
Those
thousand
have been
years
not recognized that they just switch around the feet, that they just turn it from juice to black now.
because you have to think of it like this. If most Europeans don't believe in heaven, they follow
In what?
Christianity.
Believe in what?
Most Europeans do not genuinely believe in heaven.
Oh,
They believe once they die,
people believe in that nonsense in it. I don't know how you can believe in that.
they believe that once they die, they die. So
Yeah.
for them, immortality is to be remembered. And this is why when you see the prominent ones in this society, they're always doing something to be remembered. So the move should always be to forget those and wipe them off out of existence in terms of memory. But the act, no names, just the act. This was
Yes.
done, and this we have to stop the brutality from ever taking place again. You get what I'm saying? But to
Yes.
but to immortalize the individuals is to
Yes.
give them power and to give those that are coming behind them power to say he was a great man. I'm going to let his philosophy rise again. Do you get what I'm
Yes.
saying? So you, in a weird way, it's like we have to be mindful of what they're then trying to do. Yeah, let's teach Black history in schools, but all you're doing is teaching something that's going to hold the minds down, hold the mindset down of the youngsters that you're teaching to make them even more subordinate or even more
Rebellious.
broken. I mean, than they were before. So you can over them because the more you take from someone and the more you teach them that they were a failure in themselves, the less they think they're worth. You follow what I'm saying?
Of
So
course, I'm following
they
you.
will never
Good talk.
should if they're going to teach Black history, then we delegate that curriculum, not Europeans deciding what is taught and how it's taught. We delegate and we control that portion of it. Just like how they control what portion of their history is taught. Everything they control what is taught, maths, English, science, they control everything. So why should you control what is taught about a people to a people? That means it's indoctrination and it's mind control.
Well, that's what it is, brother. How you gonna say it means? That's what it is. In reality, that's what it is. I mean, the fool can see that.
Okay.
You know,
All
look
right.
at this now. What I'm saying is, now a lot of people say now, oh, because we see this happen, this is what it is. But you're gonna say all the time that is happening, it doesn't matter because you just taking the narrative that they're putting out. So, but
Mhm.
this time now you see it. You know, when you see something, you can't erase it from your mind and hear it one by one.
Exactly.
Yeah? So, you know, I have a class now, I have to go. So,
Yeah, man.
anyway,
Likewise, I have to open up to see if anyone else wants to give a call in. All right.
what you said?
Yeah, I said, right, I'm going to see if anyone else wants to give a call in. So keep listening if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can.
man, bless, man. It's really good program. Continue. I nearly missed you as well.
All right, no worries. We talk.
Yeah, I'm not listening though. Continue.
All right, keep
Yeah,
listening. All right,
bless up,
all
man.
right.
Good man.
Yeah, big up the caller down there in Kingsbury. Um, it's the doctor's surgery. If you want to call in and you want to take part in the show, you got your take on what's been said. Uh, the number is 0753 996 8143. I'll give it again, 0753 996 8143. Let me know what you think. Give us a call. Give us your take on what's being said. It'd be very interesting to hear what you have to take. Text message reads, so what has protesting accomplished? Um, Within 10 days of sustained protests, Minneapolis bans use of chokeholds. Charges are upgraded against Officer Chauvin, and his accomplices are arrested and charged. Dallas adopts a duty to intervene rule that requires officers to stop other cops who are engaging in inappropriate use of force. I think that's one of the most important changes that this protest has brought to the forefront. And this is why I say this protest has achieved quite a lot of positive aims, even though there's negative factors in terms of the initiation of it. It has achieved some good work that needed to have been done. So, in the past, officers would jump in and join their colleagues and they would get off scot free. Now there's a duty to intervene, but that's only in Dallas. Is that going to be something that's spread right across the states? Because as we know, and let's rephrase that. As we feel and we think that the police force here in the UK and in the States, in the States, it's been infiltrated by the Ku Klux Klan. We feel that there's a lot of Ku Klux Klan members inside the police force in America. And likewise, here in the UK, we feel that there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, BNP, National Front, you know, in the police force here in the UK. I heard Crusader Dick, head of the Metropolitan Police, uh, do a talk the other day, and I think she's just completely oblivious or she doesn't care to what's really taking place in that police force, or she belongs to one of those movements. I don't care. I said it, you know. So we have to be mindful, because everything is about control and power, and that's something that we have to look at. Another factor, New Jersey's Attorney General said the state will update its use of force guidelines for the first time in 2 decades. In Maryland, a bipartisan work group of state lawmakers announced a police reform work group. Los Angeles City Council introduces motion to reduce LAPD's $1.8 billion operating budget. MBTA in Boston agrees to stop using public buses to transport police officers to protests. Police brutality captured on cameras leads to near immediate suspensions and firings of officers in several cities, i.e., Buffalo, Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale is in Florida. Buffalo, where's Buffalo again? I don't know. Buffalo must be in Buffalo if it's a state itself. I don't know. I don't live in the States, so I don't need to know what's a state and what's a city. But I know Fort Lauderdale is in Florida. Monuments celebrating Confederates are removed in cities in Virginia, Alabama, and other states. And likewise, those monuments should be removed in the UK. And this is what I said again. The conflict is that, we have those white protesters that are far more literate in a lot of these things than us. And we need them by our sides. It's been great having a lot of them by our sides. And I said a lot, and the reason I didn't say all is because we know that some are agent provocateurs. All right? But the true ones that stand by us, we stand by you as one race. What else? Street in front of White House is renamed Black Lives Matter Plaza. Military forces with. I think that's a bit more of a political thing, though, to push to agitate President Trump. But it didn't. It failed in its exercise. It wasn't done because of anything else. That Black Lives Matter one day. Military forces begin to withdraw from DC. That's because there's not been any rioting and anything as such. It's just been peaceful protest, which is what it should have been in the first place. But sometimes, you have to riot and burn down and blaze up certain things. But, a lot of that wasn't done by the black protesters. It was done by a lot of agent provocateurs that you saw that weren't really there for positive support. They were there because they were from the police forces and they wanted to go in hard. So they wanted to give a reason to go in hard to quash or quell the protest. And then there's all the other stuff that's hard to measure, the really difficult public and private conversations that are happening about race and privilege. And that's true. I mean, even coming in to do the show this morning, the security guard stopped me and said, "Hi, morning." And I was like, I thought he goes, "Hello, hi." I was so surprised, and I was like, what this man want? You get me? I was getting ready to thinking he was going to ask me to sign a document or sign a form to enter the premises or something. But no, he was saying good morning. So there's been a lot of serious fundamental changes due to this incident that are resoundingly positive. But we understand and we are always watchful of the agenda behind the agent provocateurs and their, so we have to keep a lookout. The realization some white people are coming to about racism and the role of policing in this country. There was a comment about Banksy's new work of art, and that to me is like a double-edged sword, And if you don't know what Banksy's posted, he's posted a written article talking about. He's posted a written article talking about that racism is akin to white people living in an apartment. I say this not by verbatim, but I'm saying it in my own words. That racism is akin to an apartment where the whites are living upstairs and the black people are living downstairs, and the people in that apartment upstairs have a leaky faucet, and it's affecting the people downstairs, and they can't really come upstairs to the apartment to fix it because they're not allowed to do so. And so the only people that can fix it are the people in the apartment upstairs. And it's in the interest, and he said our interest, telling you Banksy is white, that The people in the apartment upstairs need to fix the leaky faucet because otherwise someone from downstairs will come in and kick in the door. Now think about that. Think about that carefully. That to me is double edged because whilst it's recognizing there's a problem that has to be fixed internally, does it also suggest to maintain and keep your doors or them from coming upstairs? Let's just fix the faucet. Eh, Banksy, I might be reaching, but that was nonetheless something that the realization that some white people are coming to about racism and the role of police in each and every country right around the globe where black people are impacted by these policies and these discrepancies. The self-reflection in the internal battles exploding within organization over issues that have been simmering or ignored for a long time. Some organizations will end as a result, others will forever change or be or replaced with something stronger and fairer. Globally, protests against racial equality sparked by the police killing of George Floyd are taking place all over the world. Rallies and memorials have been held in cities across Europe as well as in Mexico, Canada, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand. You can see how many places where black people have been subjugated in the quiet because the national media never ever highlighted the racial prejudices taking places in these countries. You just knew it happened. We all knew Australia was a racist country. If you didn't, you know now. Australia is an extremely racist country, extremely racist. If you know an Australian and they go, all right, mate, so, you have to take it that all right, mate, however them talk about the Barbie with a pinch of salt. Because Australia is a very racist country. You didn't know, get to know. And all these places, the people have a little bit stronger voice where they can hear and vent. As the US contends with its second week of protests, issues of racism, police brutality, and oppression have been brought to light across the globe. People all over the world understand that their own fights for human rights, for equality, and fairness will become so much more difficult to win if we are going to lose America as a place where I Have a Dream is a real universal political program. Wolfgang is, I don't know what that is. Ischinger, a former German ambassador to the US, told the New Yorker. I don't know. Uh, so it's a very long text message. Anyway, I think it's going to go around soon, and you might get it. But it's it. There's a lot of positives that have taken place. I'm not going to read all of that text message. It take me all day. But there's a lot of positives that's taking place, and in that we have to kind of be mindful. We have to be mindful. Oh, are you listening? Am I talking to myself? Give me a call, a drop call, a text. Let me know if you're listening. It's the doctor's surgery. The number is 0753 996 8143. I'll give it again, 0753 996 8143. We're broadcasting to you live in video on the doctor's surgery. You search on the YouTube and then you filter by channel, and we should be right at the top of that search. So you search the doctor's surgery, THE space doctors, DOCTORS space surgery, SURGERY, and then you search. It won't come up straight away, but then you go into filter and you press channel, and we're right at the top. You can live stream and watch us live in the studio at the doctor's surgery. Otherwise, you can tune in to omegafmradio.co.uk, mixcloud.com/Omega DJ, or even on the YouTube channel for Omega London TV Presents. Okay, it's the doctor's surgery. We come to you each and every Tuesday, live and direct, bringing you the current affairs of what the news and updates on what's taking place in the last week. The doctor's surgery, if you're just tuning in, is Britain's first Black Current Affairs Show. You know, and I want people to get used to the YouTube channel because sometimes it may be a bit difficult to actually get into the studio, or we can broadcast live on the way to the studio. You can watch the channel, and we can expand as the channel grows to a daily broadcast or even a podcast where we can have these discussions. Okay, so please check out the YouTube channel, The Doctor's Surgery. Um, and it's laziness for lack of a better word, why we haven't updated the Instagram as yet. But we need to do some editing and put some bits on the Instagram, and that will be coming soon. What else do we have? We don't have the Twitter yet, do we? We have the Twitter. So we're going to start sending out some tweets soon, but everything is just a bit heavy at the moment. There's so much to do. We're looking for some sponsorship. It will reduce some of that workload so that we can focus more on just doing the work as opposed to um, finding the resources to make sure the work happens, during the hectic day. So if you would be like to sponsor the show, get in touch. What's the email? We can give the email so you can get in touch if you're interested in being a sponsor of the show. And the email is the Doctor Surgery, THEDRS. Sorry, let me give that again. The email is THEDRSSURGERY So that's Tango Hotel Echo Delta Romeo Sierra Sierra Uniform Romeo Golf Echo Romeo Yankee at gmail.com. Let a call up? No? Let's go back. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a little pause for the cause, and then we catch you back on the other side. But if I don't get any phone calls to say that you're listening, that means we're wrapping up early. Let us know that you're listening. We wrap up early if we don't get the calls because it means we're just talking to empty space and we don't talk to ourselves. They say it's the first sign of madness. So we'll catch you back on the other side. If you're listening, give us a call 0753 996 8143. I'll give it again 0753 996 8143. It's the Doctor's Surgery. We catch you back on the other side. Ooh.